What's up, y'all? By popular demand, I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my tone. Alright, so I'm going to start off with some gear. I'll put a picture up on the screen of the guitar that I'm using. It's a little old Epiphone that I had for a while. It's loaded with some Seymour Duncan Dave Mustaine's. Amazing pickups, by the way. As far as a DAW, I'm using FL Studio. Just really use what's comfortable for you, what makes it easier. And of course, you're going to need an audio interface. So the one that I'm using is one called Axe.io. They're by the same company that makes Amplitude, which is my main preset or my main plugin for lead tones, kirk tones, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's hop into it. I assume a lot of you guys are here for the lead tones, so start with that. For the first one, is actually my Wherever I May Roam preset. Have a little gate going just to get rid of that hiss, really, because sometimes my guitar is pretty prone to hissing. That's just in the front of the chain, and then here is where the meat and the potatoes of the tone is. So first, in front of the signal chain, I have a little wah. It's modeled off of a Vox. They have a bunch of wahs over here that you can choose from. This is the one that just sounded most accurate to me. And then I have a tube screamer going into a Marshall kind of sound. And that tube screamer is only going to this one amp. All these other two amps, I'm just isolating stuff for. So this, for example, this is just used for my low end of the sound. And this is just used for the really, really high end of the sound. That's why you can kind of see it in this EQ that I have. Everything is kind of pushed up towards here. But as far as like everything else, I mean, you can see the settings on the amp. The bass is turned all the way down, But on this amp, bass is pretty much up all the way. It's going through an old Marshall cab. This is going through a brick cab. Yeah, this amp is modeled after a diesel, and this is some German amp, I think. But after this, it goes through my effect racks, and I have some chorus going on here. I use it selectively. It just depends on the lick that he's playing. Digital delay, plate reverb, that's a really big key to the sound of the Black Album lead. Plate reverb. And then my graphic EQ, I'm just cutting out around 16K to get that super, super high end out. And then get rid of some of that rumble around like 50, 40 hertz. And if we go to the mixer, you can kind of see how all my cabs are mixed. You'll notice a lot of them have a good bit of room sound on them. So that's another big key to this lead sound of the Black Album is heavy room sound. And it's all kind of mixed together. But for this Roam one, I'm muting the room sound, or I'm muting the whole bus for the super high-end amp. Just because the Roam sound, it's a little less high-end than some other ones like Sad But True and stuff. So yeah. And then once we're done with the amplitude, I have a couple EQs. This one's just reinforcing that hard cut around like 50 hertz and getting rid of some of that super, super high end. This is again just pushing some of those mids towards the high mids, low mids. Just kind of, you have to use your ear whenever you do stuff like this, so that's what I'm just doing here. And then just getting rid of more of that cut just to kind of solidify that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this Wherever I May Roam one. And then I'll play this for you guys so you can hear it in isolation. kind of hear where the chorus comes in. That's what I was talking about, it being a little bit selective, like right around here. Right on that lick where he does the pull-offs and stuff. And then there's another interesting thing about this solo. He switches sounds in like this really big bendy part. So as far as my preset, what I did is I just muted my room sound. And that gave me pretty much the sound that he was going for. And then of course after these, you know, these big bends and stuff, he switches back to his regular sound. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Rome one. And we'll move on to Sad But True.
Let's cut the shit and start working.
Cut to the chase and fucking play, okay?
Alright, man.
We're about to break down the Sad But True one. As far as the difference between the Rome and the Sad But True, they're pretty much the same. You could just see this one has a little bit more EQs than the Rome one. So let's dive into it. Pretty much the same preset for my gate. Like I said, hissing. Just getting rid of that. And then back to our amplitude. So for this one, obviously there's no wah. So I do have a wah, but it's just turned off. And still have my old screamer here. I believe some of the settings are a little bit different just because of the nature of this solo. It has a little bit more gain, a little bit more sub, just things like that. So you can see it on these settings on these amps here. They're a little bit more pushed than they were on the Rome one. So, and again, it's still that same screamer just going into that Marshall sound. And then I have my diesel amp again. And this is pushed even a little bit more than it was before. And back to our German amp. You see my gain is pretty much around like 4 or 5, right in the middle. And then if we go over to the EQ, you can see it's still kind of pushed, but still cutting around that 16. And here is my effects again. You see I'm going a little bit heavier on the reverb and the delay. Graphic EQ still pretty much the same, just cutting out that low rumble and the super high end. And for this preset, actually the German amp is active, so all 3 amps are working together on this one. And like I said before, still pretty heavy on the room sound. You see it's up around like 8 dBs a room sound across the board. And then we go over back to our EQs. You can see this one has a pretty big boost around the sub, just to get that solid picking sound. Whenever I boost that, I can really get the bass feel from that, which is what the OG one has, so try to go for that. A little bit of boost around like 1500 hertz, and then a little bit of a high-end boost as well. Again, just kind of using my ear around here, trying to see what sounds right to me. Another big boost on the high end. That's another thing with the Sad But True solo compared to the Rome one. There's a lot more high end. It's a lot more active up towards here. Another cut around 50 hertz. You know, just reinforcing that. And a blank EQ.
What the fuck are you guys doing here right now? God damn it!
But yeah, I'll play this one for you guys so you can kind of hear how everything sounded. And yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it for these tones then, man. Just to do a quick recap, you got your gate on both of these leads. You got your 3 amps, Marshall, screamer going into the Marshall, diesel for the low end, German for the high end. Pick your wah of choice. Again, real big on that room sound for these Black Album leads. And just EQ to taste. And if you guys have any comments or questions or anything like that, feel free to leave them down below. Try to get back to you guys. And let me know if you guys want a part 2 where I dive into some rhythm stuff.